So your first job as a translator
Yeah,
was translating Jerry Springer shows.
yeah, yeah. Subtitling it, trying to find translations in French.
Were there any words that were hard to that stuck out that were hard to translate in French?
Yeah, something like "Get out of my face."
You are listening to NSR, National Scrubs Radio, where nurses, doctors, students, and other healthcare professionals bring you stories from scrubs across the nation. Tune in today with NSR's Derek J.
So welcome to NSR, that's National Scrubs Radio. This is your host, Derek J. So my guest today, her name is Bloody Angie, and we recorded this episode while she was on a boat in France. Yes, she lives in France, and she lives on a boat. So she's a surgical assistant across the pond, and she talks about her experiences working in healthcare over in France, and she goes over some of the challenges she had being a nurse over there and why she left the profession, and where she ended up when she left the profession. It's not what you think. And fatty eggplants. You have to listen to find out what that means. And for her creative side, she does some burlesque and artistic nude modeling. She goes over some of the problems she has on her Instagram accounts regarding the burlesque and her healthcare account as well. Here's Bloody Angie. So my guest today, Bloody Angie, she goes by that on Instagram. She has an awesome Instagram. You got to follow her. It's at bloody_Angie, I believe it is. Welcome to the show, Angie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Bonjour.
Yeah. Bonjour. So you live in France.
Yes.
That is correct. And we're at in France, and you live on a boat. Is that correct?
Yeah, I live on a boat in Paris on the River Seine. And yeah, I love it.
Is that a common thing for French people to live on the water on a boat?
No. Most of the people think that I live like in the 19th century on a very old and musty and rusty. Yeah, they probably want to give me charity or something because they always have stupid questions like, "Oh my God, you have electricity? Oh, do you have like bathrooms?"
Right. Yeah. How do you go to the bathroom? Like, what do you do?
Well, we have a bathroom and it goes through a pump and then it's like processed or something and it's dumped into the river.
So you don't go swimming in the river?
Yeah, we do.
Would that be? Do you?
Yeah.
Is it really processed and dumped, like, dumping into the river and people swim in it?
Yeah, but you don't really recognize what's coming out of the pump, But it's the river is huge and it's massive and it has a lot of current. So like your poo is diluted like in half a second. And It's just poo,
Right. It's just poo. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah. You can just get drinking water, it's okay. So talking about poo, you made an Instagram post, I believe sometime today. And am I correct? Did I see what I thought, I saw?
Yeah, I was just going, the surgery ended early and I just took the subway back home and there I was listening to music and this guy, he just walks in the metro and in the compartment and he's wearing like a satchel, or I don't know the term in English, but in a transparent plastic bag is his poop. And it's just not like for a stool sample, like a micro thing. It's like
right. It's not like a lab. It's not like a lab collection.
No.
This is like 4 lab collections in one, right?
And it wasn't just like hiding it or anything. No, he had arranged like how can I say, like a string going around his torso. And just tied.
I couldn't believe that someone would do that.
Back. And being a nurse, you just have to see for yourself and just be sure of what's in there.
Right.
So I was like bending closer to see. And there were little bits.
As everybody is walking away from the smell, you're like, what is that?
Yeah,
Let me make sure it's shit. Yeah.
I just want to be sure.
Like, I'm trying to think, like, and the guy didn't have a dog, right? Is that safe to say? Because I mean, like here, people had to pick up their dog poop on the sidewalks,
right,
in a plastic bag. But he did not have a dog with him.
No. And apparently he had given it some thought because he had really arranged the bag and string around his shoulder. And
but why put it in a clear plastic bag?
I don't know.
Like, if you're going to do that, like, at least put your shit like in the black, something that you can't tell what it is, or at least where healthcare professionals are not sneaking closer to make sure it's real shit.
Yeah. But or in a cooler, or I don't
something.
Something.
I don't know. But I was cracking up. I was like, oh my gosh, the things that you see in big cities, because like in San Francisco, you have, if you're walking in the Tenderloin, sometimes you can't tell if it's human shit or if it's dog shit. You really can't. It's always on the sidewalk, and you're just like, what in the world?
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not. You're right. And I remember my first time being here in San Francisco. I was on the Njunda, which is a train, and there's a park, and it has like 10 rules for the park, and like number 4 was like no defecation. Like when you, and it's not a dog park. It, people were there. So if you're telling humans that, hey, we don't want you shitting here, you know what I mean? Like,
it's happened.
I would think that's some like common sense, but apparently they hadn't made a sign for it. So
I saw kind of the same sign in a camping ground in France, south of France, and it said, please do not take a dump on the walls. And it was inside the toilets. So people apparently were doing art in the toilet.
With their own shit? That's crazy. Well, Lady Angie has an awesome Instagram. Everybody should follow her. You crack me up with your, sometimes your live feed, not your live feed, but your Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Do some acting. And so what I've noticed about you is that you working in France, you used to be a nurse after we were talking for a little bit, but now you're a surgical assistant.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about being a surgical assistant in France.
You don't really get to choose to be a surgical assistant. I mean, it's very hard to be a surgical assistant in the sense that there is no school for this. There is no diploma for it.
Wow.
So, yeah, I know. Kind of sucks. In the sense that usually old surgeons, this is how it worked before, their surgical assistant would be their secretary.
Wow. Okay, like a personal assistant practically, but for surgery in a way.
Yeah. So the secretary would type, the letters to the doctors and shit, and in consultation, and then they would assist them. Or, if they had a girlfriend, they could use her as a surgical assistant too. That was like not so long ago.
So kind of like the doctor dating the nurse kind of thing? But
No, just dating, I don't know, a Kardashian, whatever. And they could say, hey, want to see something wild? Come and help me tomorrow for my rhinoplasty. And
right.
Yeah, so they kind of wanted to make it a little more official. And so they said, okay, so only nurses or med students could be surgical assistants, since there is no diploma.
Right.
And so what happens now, as of today, is that you have to either be, is there like a special nurse that works only in the OR?
There is. You have like registered nurses who they have a registered nurse, like, there's an RN license here in the US.
Yeah.
And they go to the OR. But then, like, once you're in the OR, it's really hard to transition out of the OR because everything else is so different.
But they don't have, like, an extra diploma or anything.
I'm sure there are some certifications, but I'm not exactly sure if you need one in order to get into the OR.
All right. So what happens in France is that if you want to be a surgical assistant, usually what happens is that you're an OR nurse. Some surgeon needs an assistant for this or that, and they say, hey, do you want to, make an extra buck?
Right.
And that's how it happens. And then you start working regularly for him, blah, blah, blah. Or you can be like me. I was
Kardashian.
A Kardashian, yeah. A nurse, please. And handpicked by a surgeon. And he says, okay, I want you to work for me and only for me. And I will, educate you. So
right.
That's what happened for me. And I quit the hospital because I just couldn't take it anymore. I had no idea what I would do.
You were a former nurse, right?
Yeah, I was a nurse for, I don't know, a few years, maybe 7 years, I don't know. And I'm bad at math. And I was really fed up with, nursing and the way we're treated in France. And I was ready to work at McDonald's if I had to. And this young surgeon comes along and says, hey, I need an assistant. And I said, sure. And I wasn't even, because I've never been really interested in surgery.
Right.
And I was really not sure that I could stand the sight of blood and everything. And the first time that he took me into the OR, it was like a revelation. It was like, my goodness, 1,000 Christmases happening.
Like, this is your playground. Like, this is your area of recreation. Like, it's more like a museum, because the body is so fucking beautiful. Oh, can I swear? Because I'm French. And I swear all the time. How do I say this? Fuck yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to make sure, because you're
not to be crude or anything, but yeah, I mean, if you're explaining something that's awesome to you, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like you're working on a masterpiece. It's like, oh, okay, so today we're working on a Van Gogh, and it's like I couldn't sleep because I was so excited. And usually, in the beginnings, I couldn't sleep the nights before doing surgery because I was so excited, like it was Christmas, like it was, I don't know, New Kids on the Block concert. I don't know, it was, and I feel this way. I still feel this way. I am so, how can I say, fascinated by anatomy, by the body, by surgery, by the surgeons.
So what were some of the challenges that you had as a nurse in France, and what led you to your exit out of nursing?
When you choose to be a nurse in France, you're prepared for a career of sacrifice.
Okay.
There is people in France, they have this representation of the nurse as someone. Well, nurses used to be religious people, before.
Really?
So,
in France?
Yes. They used to be sisters of Catholic order. And so, but they had no knowledge, no medical knowledge. They just used to be nuns. Okay. They assume, society and patients and doctors assume that you're a nurse because it's like a calling, a religious calling. So you don't expect to be respected. You don't expect to be paid or rewarded, or, it's a calling.
Right.
And that's something that really comes all the time when I say, when people ask me what I do and I say, oh, I'm a nurse. Oh, that's a wonderful job. It's a calling, really. It's so difficult. And I just want to say, no, it's not. It is a super difficult job, but society and our mentalities are making it harder because they think that it's just a major sacrifice.
Right.
I don't know if
it's hard to do that for a very long time, right? To make that sacrifice. So like if you're a nurse for 7 years, they get burnt out. How many nurses that we know that are burned out, right? Or just unhappy?
Yeah, happened to me. Yep. I ended up in psych ward.
Did you really?
Yeah, of course I did. After 2 years of pediatric ICU, I was burnt out, and I was, psych ward.
Wow.
Yeah.
For how long?
For a month.
For a month? Mm-hmm. And then kind of rehabilitate and stuff. I'm not sure what the difference of a psych ward in France would be here, Mm-hmm. But wow, a month. I didn't realize that. That must have been hard on you.
Well,
I mean,
think,
for you
you
to
know
go.
what? To be really honest, I don't think I
Yeah,
ever got over it.
I see.
I still think of these children suffering.
And that was really tough on you.
And the tough part is not watching them die, is watching them suffer. Because you can't do anything about it. And they have like so many drugs in their system and they're still suffering.
Right. That's the reason why I couldn't be a pediatric nurse at all. Like I can't deal with kids. I've had this conversation. I can deal with adults and stuff like that, but as soon as you get me working with kids, I'm like, I don't want to mess with that.
Well, you know, when we had teenagers in PICU, it was harder on us actually than the babies. Because I think it's because we identified with them more.
Right.
Yeah. Burning out is like, I don't think, yeah. I'm very sensitive, so I get really upset. And I really want to do my job well. And I reflect on what I do and what I'm asked to do. People don't expect this from a nurse. In fact,
a former nurse that's crazy. I never heard of that.
In the late 80s, there was this massive strike, nursing strike in France. And there was this, how do you say, this sentence that the nurses used to say in the streets. How do you call it in English? Demonstrating.
They're protesting.
Yes, when they protest and they have this sentence. What do you call it?
Right.
Whatever.
A slogan, or I don't know,
slogan,
a chant.
Yeah, okay. So in the late 1980s,
yes,
the nurses went on strike and had this slogan that said, if I translate it from French, it says, we're neither nuns nor servants nor stupid. And,
oh, wow.
And that was like, okay, maybe 30 years ago. So that's like a long time, but never mind. And this could really, it hasn't changed. This is how we are perceived in France.
So you're perceived more of just busy work ants or just servants that just kind of mindless, but they just do
show
work.
Dogs. You're a show dog. I used to be a translator before going back to nursing school. And it's like, I studied for 5 years, blah, 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 and it was difficult, blah, blah, blah. And then when I went to nursing school, I was thinking, my God, is this really what we are taught? Because the level, I mean, it was pathetic.
So you told me, I asked you like before the show, like, what departments you worked at as a nurse. And you said jail, ER, PICU, and there was one other one. Do you remember what you said?
No, the dick ward.
Is that your time? That's the first time I've heard that for urology.
Yeah, urology, yeah. Well, it's dicks 24/7.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't get any females?
Good looking ones.
You didn't get any females in the urology, or was it just all like
no,
dick wards?
It was all old dicks. I've seen them all. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So now when I get a dick pic, I know a good looking one.
Well, what is about that? Like, we had the discussion on Instagram that I love your Instagram, but you get random messages from guys on Instagram, and I'm sure other female healthcare workers get this. So do you just get random dick pics from guys on Instagram?
Well, I just don't understand. I have 2 Instagram accounts, and I have one Instagram account focusing on my passion for vintage, and I do artistic nude photography, etc. And I get a random dick pic, like maybe 3 times a year.
Okay.
And there's this bloody Angie Instagram account where, I mean, it's just like not really focused on me. I mean, maybe there are like a few pictures of me, but it's not really the point. I just take pictures of like gory
surgical stuff,
or what else? instruments, surgical instruments or gloves or whatever. And
right.
Like as of today, I have 13 people asking me they have fetishes like glove fetishes, mask fetishes, or
what?
I know. There was this person. She said, "Oh, I'm paying you." I know.
So you have females too. I'm thinking that it's just all males, but you're talking about there's female.
Well, there was this woman, and she said, "I'm giving you $20 if you send me a video of you wearing a mask."
A mask only, or is it just that you have a mask and that's it? Well, I'm just trying to see what's the opinion of like I'm shocked that you're getting these kind of things on an Instagram.
I know,
but the other one is like your burlesque, because you do burlesque as well. We talked about that.
Yeah,
and you do the artistic stuff. Mm-hmm. And yet you get more on your surgical stuff.
Completely incredible. I think, and you have people like middle-aged men going like, "Oh, hi. Oh, you're an angel. Oh, doctor." A lot of people think I'm a doctor.
Right.
So maybe they have a fan. I don't know. And there was this Danish guy.
Right.
He wanted me for some reason, to insert things into his penis.
What?
I know. The Scandinavians, they're so crazy. And I was like, okay, you just wait. And I took a picture of a huge catheter,
Right.
Send it to him.
Right. Yeah.
And that calmed him down.
Now I'm curious real quick on the catheter. What do you call a catheter size? Over here, we call it French. You use the same term over there in France?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. Yeah.
But he went on with that crazy inserting things. And, then the nurse came back. I mean, the nurse and me told him, "Hey, don't do it. Please don't do it."
Yeah, but I mean, like, why even worry about? I wouldn't even respond to a person like that, because then you're
curious. I was like, okay, what is going on in his head?
Well, as long as you have that boundary of knowing like where it ends, right?
Yeah.
But that's crazy. I feel bad for the female healthcare. Like it's crazy that you have your healthcare account that has the craziest stuff compared to your artistic one that's burlesque and everything else.
I know, but I think the Bloody Angie one. I mean, the nurses and medical field gathers more people than vintage.
Really?
Yeah, and vintage people vintage girls are so bitchy. Bitchy and jealous. Nothing like the nurses.
So, have you had any other crazy demands on the Bloody Angie account, or any other specific details?
Let me see. Apart from sucking things and marrying them, or exchanging nudes, or that's just the usual.
That's the usual.
And I don't even look like an American nurse. They look so incredible. Like,
in what way? How would you what paint us a picture of a stereotype of American nurse? How credible they look.
So I'm talking about like what I see on Instagram, for instance. They're always taking pictures in super tight scrubs, and they have long, straight hair, not even in a ponytail or whatever. And they have,
they just came out of a salon kind of thing.
Yeah, just came out of a salon, and they have jewelry on, and they have a stethoscope around their necks.
They didn't come out of a dick ward. They literally just came out of like a salon, like freshly made up.
Yeah, or they work in a unicorn clinic. I don't know. And it's like so not what we look like in France, because we don't have our own scrubs. The scrubs are given to you by the hospital or the clinic.
Got it.
So you have, you don't walk around in your scrubs in the subway or at home or whatever, because that's gross, both for you and the patients. Oh yeah.
Okay, you're talking about wearing scrubs in the public area, but then this guy in the subway is carrying his own bag of poop.
He's crazy.
If we're talking about, that is definitely a topic of, this community acquired, like say MRSA or different things like that for resistant type of bacteria. I totally get that transfer, but that's a different topic. So what are some of the cases that you see in the OR?
Oh, do you want to hear? Do you want to hear about
I do. The way you're laughing, I do.
About the guy, the 60-something-year-old guy who was going to marry a 20-year-old and decided that his dick was too small.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so the surgeon that I was helping, that I was assisting, took the fat from his belly because, like, he was short and fat.
It's like a lipo transplant, practically. Yeah.
Yeah, and just putting everything in his dick, and his dick looked like a huge eggplant. Whatever, that's his choice.
It was purple?
It was purple. It was purple. It was blah, blah, blah. But all the time that he was, that during the procedure, I was thinking that poor 20-year-old who would be sucking fat for the rest of her life.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that is kind of weird to me. I've heard about those type of surgeries, but I didn't realize and it seems like it's always the guy in the middle age or a little older. Maybe I could be completely wrong. I don't know anything about that type of plastic surgery. So do you just deal with plastics a lot, or is it a lot of different types of surgeries?
No. My favorite surgery is the vascular surgery. What I think is very interesting, and it's more challenging for me. Plastic surgery is more like holding stuff, and you could be brainless and still do it. But,
right. You could be a nun. Is that what you're trying to say?
You could be a nun. You could be blonde. You could be a Kardashian. So,
okay.
No, my first job as a surgical assistant was we were working mainly on vascular access for, the people who had kidney failure. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Kind of. Are you talking about like AV fistulas? Like where where they get dialysis?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
And to me, that's a very noble, a very noble surgery, because the surgical assistant has to really he's really active. He or she is very active, and you participate. I mean, you're not just like holding stuff. You're really, what will be going on step by step.
Very interactive.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Oh, you get yelled at. Of course, that's how it works in France too.
So the relationship with the surgeon, you get yelled at a lot? Is it like you get scolded a lot?
Yeah, well, that's how it works. We're used to that.
I think a lot of that culture in the U.S. is here too. I think a lot of that is, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's definitely, and it's not to put doctors down or anything like that. There's even like bullies in healthcare, like from nurses, to each other. So that's actually a huge topic. That there's the whole thing of nurses eat their own. I'm not sure if you've ever heard that term in France. And doctors, I've witnessed doctors throw charts across the room expecting nurses to pick it up. And there's certain hospitals, yeah, you get that kind of stuff. But fortunately, I've worked at other hospitals where the culture is slowly changing, especially the younger it gets.
Well, surgeons, they have a lot of pressure. They're brilliant people. So I understand that sometimes they just like go berserk. But
right.
When it's every time and it's like humiliating in front of everyone, is really hard. But you get over it. No one ever died of it, being yelled at.
So you're still a surgical assistant now. How did you get into burlesque and the artistic modeling?
Like a year ago. Okay.
You started burlesque a year ago?
Yes, I started taking burlesque lessons a year ago. Well, and I've seen burlesque shows in Paris.
Okay.
And of course, I've seen Dita Von Teese in Paris too. She's the queen of burlesque. Although I find her very artificial, but, herself, like fake boobs and taking ribs off. And yeah, when you're a nurse, you just look for that. Anyway, so yeah, and it's about stripping, but you don't end up naked. You have pasties on your nipples and tassels. and you have a G-string or something. And
so it's like leaving everything but the areola and
right
down south, like covering.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's an artistic way.
Yeah, and it's fun. It has to be fun, and it has to be. There is a lot of humor in it, and that's what I like about it. And it's just not taking yourself seriously. I've been collecting vintage clothes and accessories for a long time, and I think that the fact that I lived in Boston was an influence, because in America there is some kind of glorification of the past and of the area around the 1940s, 1950s. And we don't have this in France because we were having a hard time then. So when I came back to France, I was pretty much really drawn to collecting old stuff. And now I have a collection of dresses and stuff from early 1900s to 1970s, 80s. And I decided 2 or 3 years ago, I decided that maybe I should take pictures of them because they look really nice. And the photographer I contacted said, yeah, but you have to wear them. And I ended up with pictures of myself and not my bags and shoes and dresses. But I said, hey, that looks nice. And then I started kind of exploring, because when you dress like someone from 1963, then you have to... I like to think what was going on in her head and in her body in 1963, because the influence of the garment on you, of the heels, of, I don't know, the hat, then it modifies the way you behave and the way you interact with other people. I mean, when you have a hat with a large brim, you can't kiss someone, for instance. It gives me a conscience of what it was like at the time and what was socially acceptable and unacceptable. And
it's like you getting into character almost.
Yeah, definitely a character. Yep.
And living vicariously through those women or people in that time era.
Yeah. I think it's in the glamour, the glitter, the very feminine. No, but I mean, I'm trying to find the good words.
I see.
I'm not a native speaker.
You're doing great. You speak better English than a lot of Americans.
Oh, okay.
just watch Jerry Springer episode here if you've ever seen that. And
God, yes, it was my first job as a translator, to translate Jerry Springer shows, and it made me so paranoid.
No way.
It was.
You're pulling my chain right now. Are you serious?
I am serious, and I just, my God. You know, I had no idea that they were trailer parks. I had no idea they existed. And of course, everything is made up, but some of them are not made up. And you feel so sad. It's really like, a very violent show, actually.
So your first job as a translator was translating Jerry Springer shows.
Yeah. Subtitling it, trying to find translations in French. You know, of the American expressions, and it was very hard. It was very hard. It didn't work. It didn't work in France, that show.
No, I'm surprised. Surprised.
No. They tried a French version of it, and it was pathetic.
So if they had a French version of Jerry Springer, would it be not trailer parks, but people living on boats?
No.
I'm totally joking with you, but
you'd better. No, I don't know. People living in there is no such thing as a trailer park in France, but I don't know.
Got it.
You got me.
Were there any words that were that stuck out that were hard to translate in French?
Something like "get out of my face." You know, that's there is no translation for that. Get on my face, and what else?
How about you? You don't know me.
Yeah. When they get violent.
All right. Well, thank you, Bloody Angie, for coming on to NSR. That's National Scrubs Radio. You're an awesome guest. You're welcome back anytime. And thanks for sharing to the audience about you and your life over there in France. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. Merci.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to NSR, National Scrubs Radio, with your host, Derek J. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit Facebook and Twitter at Nat Scrubs Radio. We'll catch you next time.